Okay, so some of you might have seen the fly tipping video I did the other day. Well, following on from that, I got contacted by Kate Clark from Radio Gloucestershire and asked if I'd do a little interview about the experience of rubbish on the farm. So what you're going to see now, or hear now, is the radio interview I did on Sunday for Radio Gloucestershire. But I thought I'd put in a few pictures, as it's only radio. I put in a lot of pictures that I found on Google of fly tipping, and as you can see from the pictures, it's a common problem, which isn't great. But I hope you enjoy what I'm saying on this. Sorry the sound quality isn't great, because I don't have really a great system for recording off the radio. But gone on the good days of radio cassette players, if some of you are old enough to remember those. Anyway, sit back and you can hear me talking rubbish.
Richard Cornock is a dairy farmer near Wotton-under-Edge, and recently he has fallen victim to fly tipping on his land. Now, Richard is also known as the Funky Farmer because he makes video blogs about his work on the farm, and he recently filmed the results of the fly tipping with his 62,000 subscribers. Here's a little clip.
Okay, so here I am out in the probably the only field we got left on the farm, which we might be able to mow for a few bales at the end of the season. This is the only one with a bit of grass that I was keeping for bales. And this morning I discovered that someone's left us a really great present in it. Look at this. Some very charming person has driven into the field through the gate there. They've driven round in a circle here. They've just dumped this in the back of our field. Honestly, words fail me. Look, so we got here. Let me just have a look what we got. So we have some turf messed up with all sorts of stones. They're going to get in the mower. Coming through, this is a cherry tree. I know my trees. And then they decided to chuck the rest of their rubbish in, so we got ourselves a rabbit hutch.
Not good news, is it? Well, joining me on the phone now is Richard Cornock. Hi, Rich.
Hi, Kate.
So that happened a few weeks ago, but how many times have you experienced fly tipping on your land?
Well, I mean, it's an ongoing problem, really. I can think of at least half a dozen examples of fly tipping in and around the farm. And a hell of a range of stuff that's been dumped as well. I mean, it varies from people's sofas. We've had Leylandi clippings from someone's obviously done some sort of horticultural work. I think there's been some drums of oil, which we've had. Down the road, there's been lorry tyres. I could go on. There's a list of all sorts of things, really.
So what did you do with all the rubbish that you found a couple of weeks ago?
Well, you know, my biggest worry about any rubbish that's dumped on the farm is what it is, really. And my biggest fear is it's going to be something toxic like asbestos or things like tyres, which are really hard to deal with. I was very lucky in a way that this was garden waste, because I could deal with that, because there was hedge cuttings which I could put, dispose of around the farm. Some turf, which I managed to fill in some ruts on the farm. But I ended up being their dustman, really, because the rabbit hutch I took down the tip myself, along with some things like garden lights, those solar lights?
Yeah.
Broken ones of those. And I know, it's so frustrating, because why couldn't they have done that themselves,
So that must have taken a good couple of hours just to sort all that out. And that comes out of your working day?
Absolutely. I would say it was 2 hours worth of my cleaning up, really. By the time I sorted out the rubbish into different sorts of category of waste, I sound like I know what I'm doing, but I'm a farmer and not a waste disposal guy. But I had to separate into what I could deal with, and then changing the machinery and things.
We heard on the clip there that you could see the tyre marks as they'd come round in a circle, so you think it was a tipper truck. So do you think it's a case of somebody has just maybe put on Facebook and said, can somebody get rid of my garden waste and I'll give you a few quid for it?
It's hard to know where it's come from, but looking at what was there, the quantity as well, there was no way that it was put in someone's boot of their car. So it was definitely taken in there by some sort of tipping vehicle. And I'm a big fan of Facebook. I've got a Funky Farmer Facebook page and things. And I actually watch, looking down at on Facebook, you do see people come up with I've got this garden waste cash waiting to clear it. Will someone pick it up? And okay, fair enough, you want your garden waste taken away, but you don't just give it to anyone who's just going to go away and you're not worried where it's going. You need to make sure they are legitimate waste carriers.
Make sure they have a licence, make sure
Absolutely.
They can dispose it into the right place. So I suppose the question is, Richard, are you just going to have to put a chain and a lock on every gate on your farm?
Do you know what? That's exactly what we've done since this happened, because, I don't want a repeat of what's happened, and so I have put locks on the gate since, and it makes it difficult for us because, I want to go and check my cattle and everything. I've got to make sure I've got a key or the combination for that every time I go now.
Yeah.
But I can't risk the fact that I'm going to get some more waste dumped there.
And if you're working with somebody as well, they need to have a copy of the keys as well.
Absolutely. That's it makes it harder, but, not as hard as me clearing up I had builder's rubble once that still had wet cement in it, so it literally come off a site somewhere and dumped straight in our field.
Have you ever been able to find the culprit?
Not in this case, but I did have one incident where some oil drums. I mean, this is how ridiculous it was. Okay, these drums were full of waste oil. They'd thrown them into the ditch, and the ditch fed straight into a stream. And luckily, I spotted it, and in there was an invoice from a local, I'm not saying where, but a local garage, and I then contacted the council and left them to chase it up.
Yeah,
because I don't want to get involved myself, and the council have got the enforcement to deal with that. And
they can then prosecute.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've had half a dozen of these, you say. What about minimum half a dozen over the years? What about other farming friends of yours and the other farming community?
Well, it's everywhere. I think it's a blight on the countryside because I've only got a very small area of land, really, and I'm only going along one roadside. But if you take me as an example of a micro example of what's going on around the countryside, it's everywhere. I mean, I think anyone who's probably listening to this radio has driven along a road at some point and seen something dumped in a lay-by or in a ditch or a hedgerow or something. But I think the thing is about this is, what are the people thinking that are doing it? What are they? They've got contempt for their own countryside, haven't they, really? Because England's a beautiful place and we all live in Gloucestershire, which is a lovely county. Why on earth would you want to make that a horrible place? Just have a bit of decency and take it down the tip or dispose of it in the right way.
Yeah, they just don't care, do they? Some tips are reducing their opening hours, though that does make it obviously difficult. I'm by no means defending what's happened, but some of the tips are reducing their opening hours, which does make it difficult. But I suppose the message is, if you do have to give it to somebody, pay it to somebody else to take it away, just make sure that they've got ask to see a copy of their licence before you wave them off.
That's exactly it. And I think this starts right from a young age, okay? I think if you've got children and stuff, I think you need to get them to understand that it's not okay to chuck your McDonald's wrapper out of the window or things. My children, I've drummed into them that if they've got some rubbish, they put it in the bin. And if you're a responsible citizen, your children understand that that's where rubbish goes, and then it leads on to bigger things like fly tipping. You don't think that's acceptable. You realise that you should take it to the right place, not just dump it in a gateway, really.
Richard, thank you ever so much. We're going to be hearing from the police very soon as well, because they are saying fly tipping is now a national priority for the Rural Crimes Unit. We have got in contact with the District Council, and they say that they are unable to clear fly tips from private land due to extra level of resources required. They say, however, if private landowners can provide evidence from fly-tipped rubbish and or CCTV footage, then we will seek to prosecute, and we have the power to prosecute where the evidence is strong enough, and they say they will do that. And this year they have secured 2 successful prosecutions in both cases. The defendants were given significant financial penalties by magistrates. That was from Stroud District Council, who cover Wootton under Edge, which is very close to where Richard Cornock has his dairy farm. Your calls and your comments welcome on this. Our telephone number is 0800 121 7575. That's free phone 0800 121 7575.
Because we love Gloucestershire.